Difficult.
Difficult.
Difficult. Difficult. Difficult. Difficult.
Women.
Hey
there.
Oh, yeah. Hello. How are you?
Fancy seeing you in this computer thing.
Exactly. This fandangled modern technology.
Oh, God. Well, I'm Marie.
I'm Katy, and this is the Difficult Women podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, if you're just tuning in, you've never listened to an episode before, I'm in Nashville.
I'm in Brooklyn, yes.
And we used to do this in the same room. Oh, how I missed that.
Oh, God, in the before times.
But thanks to the pandemic, 2020 has different plans.
Yes. Well, thanks to Modern Marvels, we're able to do this remotely, so that's something.
That's right. So it's black magic. We're able to still do it.
Yeah.
I really fear that this is echoing way more than usual because I'm actually house sitting in this very lovely home, and I could not find a room small enough
It's a nice
to
house.
record it. Yeah,
Wow. It's not a problem I have over here, but okay.
not a problem in my normal life. So if I'm a little more echoey, it's just because I'm sitting in the dining room.
In the salon.
Yes. in the salon, yes. And it's perfect timing because I've been watching The Crown, so I feel very royal at the moment. It's very
love
exciting.
that.
Yeah, I have this whole place to myself all week, and there's a hot tub.
I was going to say, I think I caught a glimpse of that hot tub on the Instagrams, and holy hell, it looks nice.
Oh my God. I mean, I can't invite anybody over, of course, because it's a pandemic, but it is, oh God. Yeah, I got in the hot tub last night. I would do the pod in the hot tub right now if I could. If I could have figured that out, that would have been funny and really fun to edit around, but
Don't electrocute yourself, though. It's not worth it.
I know. Well, how are you? What's going on? How's New York?
It's here still. We're doing it. We're hanging in there. It's okay. Like many places in America right now, the numbers are going. Actually, I think all the places in America, the numbers are going up a little bit. So they shut down schools, and they're getting close to potentially shutting down gyms and restaurants, which they probably should just do. Sorry, restaurant workers. I know it's like really awful, but I just wonder. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been, we're the thing about New York, though, and I've said this before, but like we kind of know the drill. So I'm feeling pretty okay here in terms of people are wearing their masks and, but people are getting tired of this,
Yeah. Yeah. Pandemic fatigue is a real thing. Numbers are crazy here in Tennessee because people fight over their right to do with what they want with their bodies, which just makes me go insane.
Yeah.
But luckily Nashville is way more liberal but I mean, literally if you drive 15 minutes outside of town, it's like, what pandemic? Actually, my parents did drive down Broadway, which is where Robert's Western World is, our favorite bar.
Yes, I love that.
And my mom texted like, what pandemic?
Oh, God.
Because people are just out and about.
Oh, God.
No masks and just drinking.
It's just that it's so frustrating. And I think people just I don't know why they're not putting it together. But if everybody just buckled down for a couple weeks, this would be over. And if not over, it would be so contained. You really could mostly live your life normally. But the crazy notion of freedoms, which is just, you're convoluting this idea of personal freedom and just total zero responsibility for your community. This idea that like your personal freedoms to kill yourself or whatever, and your entire family and your friends' families is more important than just community working together.
Right.
I don't get it.
I'm curious what would have happened, if seatbelts were invented now.
Well, there's people now that are fighting again. I don't know if I just saw something recently. People are upset about seatbelts now. They decided.
Shut up.
Nope. It's now becoming a thing where people are like, actually, you know what? We don't want to wear seatbelts. I'm like, okay, fine. But the thing about a seatbelt is that like, then you kill yourself. You don't kill your neighbor's grandmother.
Right.
So it's interesting. I don't know if any of y'all out there follow Amanda Palmer. She was in the band Dresden Dolls, and it's like more of like an indie kind of smaller thing, but she's really made a name for herself and found a niche market. And she's one of our kind of heroes in terms of like art, like becoming a band on her own terms. And she happened at the beginning of the pandemic to find herself in New Zealand, just ran on tour. She didn't mean to be there, but then everything got super locked down there and she got kind of stuck in that area. And she's still there. And everything's normal there. So you see pictures of her and everyone's like hugging and they're like there's like full-blown concerts happening where there's like thousands of people in like a room and everybody's fine because they locked down and they like there's no pandemic there anymore. And so she was talking about how she's like, I'm posting all these things and all these American fans are getting really mad at me because they're like, why are you rubbing it in our face? And she's like, this is just our reality here. And what should I do to help? Like, I don't know what to do,
Mm-hmm. Oh God.
But
yeah.
It's like when you see that, like, I don't think people fully see that like there are other places in the world right now that basically don't have this problem at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was looking at a world map of the pandemic and just, America first. It's just like so
We're
sad.
number one.
We're number one. So great.
It's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, so COVID really affected me this week.
Yes, tell me.
Yeah. So I was telling. So my pandemic bubble has been popped.
Mm-mm.
My trust of other friends. Oh God. Well, so if you've been listening, I've been talking about my small little pandemic bubble. I literally have my parents, my sister, and then I have my roommate, which FYI, if you have a roommate, you all of a sudden have her pandemic bubble as well. Right. So my
Which is
roommate.
not how a pandemic bubble is supposed to work.
Nope. Anyway, with a lot of discussion, my roommate, she asked my opinion. I told her my opinion, and she still continued to travel, which is fine. But she did travel to Philadelphia and visited one friend who was also in a pandemic small bubble and apparently wasn't going anywhere, just taking her kids to the playground occasionally or something. But she was my roommate, the friend that she went to go visit, the friend's husband tested positive for COVID. So my roommate driving back to Nashville said, I've been exposed to COVID because she did see this person. And then all of a sudden, I'm now affected. Right. My family's now affected. Right. My full bubble is affected. And for this entire pandemic, the ways that I've been affected by COVID have been, of course, I've known a lot of people to get sick, and then at the beginning of it, I knew several people to pass from it. But this was it was just more of a, in my pandemic bubble, the bubble has popped. And I called Katy. I was so angry. Not necessarily just, I'm mad at the situation. I was mad at my friend. I was just mad at just a lot of stuff, mainly the circumstances of our society at the moment, just rageful. But my point of telling this story is that, I thought that I had a tiny little bubble. Also, I learned this week, another friend, and I'm telling you, I've had 6 people in my pandemic bubble. Another friend was exposed. One of my best friends that I was going to invite over to my parents' anniversary parade party to be outside around my parents who are 73 years old. And they couldn't come for some reason. So I would have then just invited this exposure into my bubble and my parents, which is the number one thing that I'm trying to protect here are my parents. So that's 2 people and 6 people that have been exposed this week. So for the listeners, this is where we've been very careful. I had my little pandemic bubble friends over to the backyard for a dinner party last week. I felt very comfortable with that. If anybody did go inside, everybody did wear masks to use the bathroom or anything. But of course, like we said at the very beginning, it's pandemic fatigue. And I know that for me, I'm an incredibly social person. That was another big reason why I came back to Nashville during this time. But it's back to where we have to stay home, and because it's everywhere.
And it's actually worse than ever in most states. You know, New York is a little different because we had it so bad in the first round. But like for a lot of these other states, like this is as worse as it's been.
Yeah,
and it's going to get worse. So it's like people think that they figured it out, and they haven't really experienced it yet. So I'm definitely worried about all that stuff.
It's just, I don't know if it's what I was yelling at my friends, just like, your carelessness is affecting my life and my family's life. And, you know, I mean, just so angry and just upset, but also, I mean, I know that I'm trying to understand, like, obviously my circumstances are different because I constantly am seeing my parents who are higher risk. So that's what I need to be more aware of now. Or just not see my parents, which that's for, you know.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing too that's hard is it's like, so you have like your parents to worry about, and that's a thing. So I guess one option now moving into like the crazy period is that you just don't see any of your friends. Yeah. That's another option, that you just really don't see anybody but your parents, which is hard. It's weird too, from my perspective as like a single person who's just moved in to an apartment by herself. It's like, who do I see? What do I do? Like, how do I navigate this too? So it is, you have to like, people are making these decisions, and they're not easy decisions to make in terms of
you have to evaluate the risk.
And the thing is, you can't really. Because the thing is, you don't know what the risk is fully. Like, you know, and I think that your pandemic bubble story is a perfect illustration where you really did measure the risk very well. And you said, okay, this is what my limitations are. And they were like better than most people's in America. You did a really good job of like really trying to protect yourself. And then it turns out that even that was more risky than you realized. And like, that's what's really hard is I think people are trying to measure these risks, but they're using like, we just don't know like who's actually exposed and who's not. I don't know. It's like that's another reason why if nationally there was just a lockdown and there was like, they were, you know, really enforcing it, we'd be in a much better position. I know that feels crappy and people would hate that for a little while, but then that risk would just be lessened in a couple weeks, you know?
That's why I like that Rachel Maddow did a whole thing about risk and the risk of like, you may not kill yourself, but you could kill or get sick your favorite person in the world.
Right.
And she talks about her partner who has COVID and she hasn't been able to be close to, and she's still quarantining because her partner is still testing positive, I believe. And so, but that, her speech about just that it may not get you sick, but it could the person you love the most in the entire world, and then it's your fault.
Yeah.
That's where I'm just, this is really hard.
Yeah.
It's really, this has been one of the hardest weeks I think I've experienced during the pandemic, just because almost I didn't want to like shame my friends, because also, I mean, we're all just trying to maneuver through this in our own ways, and totally. I get it.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, I thought I was doing it the best to my ability.
Yeah.
But yet that wasn't even, I don't know. So we have some new rules.
Right. And I think that maybe that's part
rules.
Of it too, is that like maybe it also has to do with like at one time during the pandemic, that was a pretty low risk. You know what I mean? And now we're moving into a new phase. And so now the risks are higher and they're different. And, you know, I've been kind of struggling with those things myself. I mean, I'm working very full time right now, so I'm surrounded by people all the time, but we take a lot of precautions at work. We all wear masks all the time. I'm washing my hands constantly. We have, you know, sanitizer everywhere. I wear a visor throughout the day. We're not really like in super close contact with the people coming in and out of the studio that I'm working at, but like I'm definitely exposed to a lot of individuals. Everyone also has to fill out a form, you know, affirming that they haven't been exposed to anybody and that kind of thing. And that's actually, I think, been very helpful too. But it's like scary, you know, but for me, I'm at least, I mean, this is not a great thing, but like, I don't see any friends without a mask. Like, I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything. I'm not really doing much beyond that. So I did go to one event that was also outdoors, and there was only 4 people there, and we were all far apart, and that felt pretty comfortable. But it's like every time, I don't know. I don't know. Every time. And maybe I'm the one that's going to get somebody sick. I really don't know.
Right.
It's really, really stressful. And Thanksgiving is actually like a thing now too, because I like, you know, a couple weeks ago, I was like, well, maybe I could have like a couple people over, like 2 people over, 3 people over, and we'll open the windows and whatever. And then as we've been moving into this new phase, it's like, no, I can't do that. And right at the present moment, at the timing of this, recording, I've sort of agreed to have a 1 person over, and I'll have the window open, whatever. But even that makes me so stressed out. So I'm like, I may have to have another conversation and be like, I don't know if I can do this, like, because I don't know, and it sucks. And like, you know, it sucks to not be able to be with family or friends or have the Thanksgiving that you want to have, but we just can't. This year is not going to be one of those years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that one year. They got to skip out the year. We got to just forget 2020 ever existed. Yeah.
Well, one thing that people were saying that I thought was like dead on, and I had been having this thought too, and I finally see people talking about it on Instagram. But there's people that are like, bitch, like I haven't done Thanksgiving in like 12 years, because if you work a service industry job or if you work at a restaurant, like you don't get those days off, like you work those days. So it's like people, you can survive one Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? You really can. We have to stop feeling so sorry.
You can't shove your mouth hole with all the food.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. No matter what I end up doing, like whether I have people, like a person, it wouldn't be people. It would definitely not be multiple people, a person over or not. I'm going to make a full dinner.
Fuck yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I'll get like a 40-pound turkey. I'll do it all. I don't care.
Hell yeah.
Whatever. Soup for days.
Well, because all my friends broke my bubble, I've been quarantining as well. So I was at my parents, but now I got this whole big, huge place all to myself for an entire week.
That's really nice.
So I'm great.
What is your quarantining situation now? So you're quarantining from your parents or from your friends or all the above, or what's
from the world? Okay. I live in this mansion now and I'm by myself. No, no. I mean, once my roommate called and said, and that was over a week ago, she called and said that she had been exposed, and she was actually exposed a week before that. So today is actually her 14-day quarantine. She did test negative. Her friend tested negative, the kids tested negative, so like she's good.
Yeah, so it's
the roommate, so she's good, but she's back at that house, and but I did stay away from her while she was quarantining, and stayed at my parents, but then now I'm here. So it's but really truly it is.
I want to clarify too, just if people are confused about this, when her roommate was exposed and let Marie know, Marie had not been exposed to her at that time.
Yes, she was driving.
Marie
home.
had never been exposed to her after her roommate had been exposed. Just to clarify to people Marie took very good precautions, and
well, and thank God we found out that she had been exposed before she got to me. Yeah, it was, oh God, yeah. So, I mean, but the sad thing for my other friends who were exposed, like their quarantine goes over Thanksgiving, so they can't see anybody.
Right.
You know, so.
Was it just some friends that they were exposed to, or was it a work situation, or?
It was a work situation where somebody came into their house to like record some stuff for work, but that person tested. I mean, that's the scariest thing, isn't having a person who's positive for COVID to come inside your house and use your microphones and lick them and spit on them. And, you know, that's like worst case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is the crazy thing too, is that here in Nashville, COVID tests usually take 48 hours. Well, because there's a huge resurgence of the virus here, my friends are getting their tests back 5 to 7 days after. That
was like the olden days. The olden days in April. That was like, you have to wait, because I got a COVID test. I had like a panic attack one day, maybe like in April or May, where I was like, I don't feel good. I think I have COVID. And I like went and got a test, and I did not. They were like, do you have a dry cough? Are you feeling sick? Do you have a fever? I was like, no. And they're like, I don't think you have COVID. I was like, just give me a test. And I didn't have it. But it took like 5 to 7 days to get it back. And then in New York, they've been having these rapid tests where it takes 20 minutes to get your results. But the lines now, I mean, I waited like an hour and a half because I had to get some for work. And I waited in line for like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours when I got mine like weeks and weeks and weeks ago. And now because of Thanksgiving, the lines are like, I think people are waiting like 4 hours and people are getting turned away.
Oh gosh. And those rapid tests, my friend is a nurse. She said that the rapid tests,
they're not as reliable.
They're like, it's like 50%. If you have it and you have symptoms, that's when it can really be like, yes, you have it. But yeah, if you're asymptomatic or I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I think
that nobody does. That's the problem. And the thing is, like, people are trying to, I mean, I think that, I don't know. The rapid tests at least are some form of defense for people that are trying to go to work. I mean, that's the other thing we cannot forget that people are struggling financially right now so much. So it's not that I'm saying we should just shut everything down. Like, who cares? It's fine. Like, people can't afford for us to be shut down, but it's going to be worse in the long run if we should have done this months ago. We should have done this in March. If we had just done it in March, we'd be fine, but nope.
Here's the proof right now. Is that our government is broken. We have no leadership.
Yeah.
This
no joke.
We had so much time to prepare for the second wave.
I know.
We all knew it was coming. I mean, also history, we could have just learned from 1918. But
we could have learned from Italy. Yeah. I mean, remember when Italy had it in February and they were like, don't be like us. Like, everybody stay inside. They warned us and nobody cared.
Well, I do have something fun to report.
Tell me.
I have a chicken update.
Oh God, what happened? I was just talking about your chicken to somebody the other day.
Chickens. Again, remember my roommate has the chickens. They're not my fucking chickens, but because she's been like quarantining, not being able to go to the store, I've had to take over and help. So basically, last week, remember I had said that they turned into like cannibals and they were eating their eggs and all this stuff. Well, yes, they had a calcium deficiency and needed to eat. I should have been, which my roommate didn't tell me to do. Would I have ever figured this out? No. You're supposed to sprinkle oyster shells.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's in their cage to like
not oh right like digest. I knew, but oh right because I think you had told me that. Not like I'm like, oh yes, of course, oyster shells. I knew that. Like, no, I don't mean it like that.
So anyway, there's that. But then, giddy up, one of the chickens has a yeast infection. Her vent is like oozing.
Is that what it's called? Is that the technical term? Is her vent?
Yes.
It's not vagina?
Vent. I'm going to call my vagina a vent from now on.
God. Vent.
Gross, right?
It's only a vent when you're queefing. That's how I feel.
Well, anyway, so I had to go to the store and get Monistat 7 for this fucking chicken.
Wow.
And my roommate smeared it on her vent. But
did you, when you went to buy the Monistat 7, did you look at the cashier and be like, this isn't for me. This is for my chicken. I'm fine. Everything's fine down there. It's my chicken. It's vent. It's the problem.
Well, I thought that I had to go to the pharmacist at first and I was going to kind of be like, it's not for me. It's for chickens. Do you have one for chickens? Is there like a better one for chickens? Do you know? But I ended up having to call my roommate because she said, get Monistat 7. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I know Monistat 7, sure. But they don't. They only had Monistat 1, Monistat 3.
I didn't know they had Monistat 1 and 3.
Me neither.
What are they? What's the
I guess
7?
it's for the well, I'm learning because it's been a while since I've had a yeast infection.
Teach us.
Monistat 1. I guess you just pop that thing up in there and it's cured in 1 day.
Oh, it's the amount of days.
I guess, but wouldn't you want 1 day? Wouldn't you just want to? But they have a 3 and then 7. You might as well just have a beautiful week.
Pop something in the chicken's vent and then 1 day. This is not a thing I thought
we went for today. Trust me. When I texted my roommate, like, can I get you any groceries? You know, she had stuff delivered to the house. And she was like, can you get coffee and so one of the chickens has a yeast infection. Can you get some Monistat 7? I'm like, Jesus Christ.
How did she know it was a yeast infection?
Googled it. And then I guess she ended up having to call a vet too. But
how does a chicken get a yeast infection?
I don't know, but the chicken got it on my watch because she was gone for a week and I was taking care of the chickens. And
Was it
apparently
the same chicken?
That ate the egg.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably something's going on in her
That
vent.
poor chickens. She's sick.
That's what I said. But I was like, we have to eat her now.
You have to sacrifice her to the... Just Thanksgiving's coming up. You don't have to buy a turkey. You just buy a chicken. Does that mean?
I don't know. Whenever I feed them, I think of fried chicken. So that's how broken I am.
No, this is like this is like a chicken version of Hansel and Gretel. It's like fattening them up. You're the witch.
My pretties.
I'm gonna give you a yeast infection, so we have a reason to kill you.
Gross. So anyway, that's been my week. Just my bubble has been popped and the vent is leaking.
Ew. Ew. Gross. Well, here in some other good news, don't think it was a bug in my nose.
Oh, really?
Went away. I don't know what it was, but it went away. The feeling.
It did go away?
Yeah. Either the bug got consumed into my body or my body consumed the bug somehow, or absorbed, not consumed. My body absorbed folks, the bug.
If you didn't listen to last week's episode, Katie thought she had a bug stuck in her nose.
Yeah. And I had to call Marie and be like, was there a bug in my nose?
Because I know what to do.
Well, I mean, you're fixing chickens over there. I figured you could tell me about a nose bug.
So it just went away?
Yeah, it was just like a crazy tickly in there. I was like, what is happening? And I was certain there was a bug in there. Oh, I had like a whole series of like things go wrong in my apartment and just being like a living alone problem where I thought I had a chip in my sink, but it wasn't a chip, it was a hole. So there was like water pouring into, every time I'd run the water, it was going directly into the cupboard underneath the sink. So there was that. And you're like, oh God. And of course my instinct as a full grown woman is to just like put some gum or something in there and patch it up and not tell anybody because I don't want to get in trouble, which is like not the way to deal with anything. So I had to like admit to the landlords, like, there's a hole in my sink. I need help. So they did fix that. I also woke up that night before the bug incident smelling gas. So there was like gas leaking into and I was like, do I call 911? Do you leave? Like, and I didn't leave, which is what you're supposed to do. But then I opened the windows. It was fine. But that was like very stressful. But all these like grown up things you have to deal with by yourself living alone. You know what I mean? If you have roommates, you can be like, what do we do? And then you like figure it out together. Bug in my nose. What do I do about that? Call Marie. That's what you do. I mean, it just was. But so this week went better because I like all those things have now been rectified. I even bought a gas leak detector.
Good.
Which my first one got stolen, by the way, because somebody in my building is stealing our packages.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. That we one day a package got stolen and then my neighbor's package got stolen the same day, and we kind of were commiserating, and so but it happens in New York, whatever, package gets stolen. Then a couple days later, my neighbor texted me and was like, so I found the boxes to our packages. They're empty and opened and in the basement.
Oh.
Which is the creepiest thing ever.
So it's coming from
feels
inside,
like it's coming from inside the house.
How many apartments are in your building?
There's, I think, 8 units.
Okay, so we have to do some investigating.
And I don't think it's my neighbor because he was the one that also had lost a package. So it's one of 6 units.
Okay.
But I don't know anybody else in the building. The other thing is this. Here's a very New York story. So there's a camera that points directly at where the boxes were left in the basement. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that then. So I wrote my landlord and was like, hey, this is the story. What's been going on? Can you check the cameras and we can just see who it is? Because I just want to know who the fuck it is. And of course I get a email back and they're like, we don't think the cameras work. Oh, we don't think they're functioning. It's just like to try to deter people. People do that around here, which is not a good idea. But then and then they tried to package shame me. And they said like, well, you shouldn't order packages. And I was like, I'm sorry. What? That is your solution? And
it's a fucking pandemic. What are you supposed to do?
I mean, it's just these people. I'm not selling New York much right now, but this is like how they deal with us. And then I just wrote back and I was like, I'm well aware that packages can get stolen. But right now I'm very alarmed that it's coming from inside the apartment and I'm just trying to protect myself. I don't feel safe. I don't feel like my neighbors are safe from this package thief. And so
all right, we have to hatch a plan. Your buddy Tim kind of looks like a private investigator.
We could dress everybody's doors.
Yes.
Excuse me, have you seen a package?
What were you ordering?
I ordered my gas detector.
Okay, well,
it's not even a fun package to open. That's the other thing. It's like, maybe I have a plan. I'll order very boring things. And eventually the package thief will be like, I don't want this. Maybe I'll just keep ordering Monistat 7. just keep ordering it. And they're going to be like, ew, what's wrong with her?
Hear me out.
What?
You set the gas off.
Oh, God.
And the entire building fills with gas. You see whose alarm goes off.
And then I light a fire.
And then you light a fire.
Explodes. That's a great idea.
Well, we're 30 minutes in. I mean, I feel like we can kind of talk more about what this whole episode is going to be about.
We kind of got real off topic.
Can you tell this week sucked, and so we didn't really want to research anything?
It's too hard. Well, we're just going to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving, huh?
Yeah, I mean, let's reminisce because this year's going to be fucked up.
Oh, God. Well, do you have some favorite Thanksgivings?
Yes. Thanksgiving is like such a, it's just so loaded because the gathering of the family, all the family, it can be tricky. Let's just face that. It's a little tricky.
Yeah.
But no, I've been very, very lucky and very fortunate. And I think my favorite Thanksgiving ever was a couple years ago for my parents' 40th wedding anniversary. We surprised them with a trip to Costa Rica.
Oh, that's the way to do Thanksgiving.
Yeah. That was incredible. So we rented this like villa in a jungle and had a cook. I think we paid for a cook to come and make ceviche and very amazing. Non-traditional Thanksgiving meals. And so that was incredible. And that was, aunts and uncles and my parents and all of us. And so it really was just like such a nice celebration of family and not being in America.
Yeah.
And not having to eat. I mean, I like turkey and stuffing and stuff, but it's not like my favorite thing to eat.
Oh, I love that stuff. I think partially I love it because I don't get it ever. Because I have a funny situation where when I was younger, my grandmother, my Midwestern family, like they would go all out. The most traditional good old American Thanksgiving. Loved it. Everything's so bad for you and good and like full of butter and like so good. But my parents are divorced, so it's been one of those things where I spend Christmas with my mom and then I spend Thanksgiving with my dad. And my dad, through a series of like reasons, we never have like the most traditional Thanksgiving. One of the reasons is that my stepmother and my stepsister and her family, they're all from China. So Thanksgiving is just it just doesn't matter. This doesn't matter to them at all, which is totally reasonable. It's totally reasonable. Like, why would they care? So it's basically like they'll come and it's very nice to see them. So all of that is like really lovely. But it's just not an important holiday for Chinese people, obviously, for good reason. But the other thing is, for many years, my dad was on the Atkins diet. Mm-hmm. And so we'd like have Thanksgiving and he'd make a turkey. He always does like a good turkey. So that's good. But there would always be like the sides were like a bean, like here's like a green bean for you. Or like one time he was like, I microwaved a potato for you because he wasn't eating any carbs because of the Atkins diet. So it's just like sometimes like the saddest like little meals. Yeah. And then there was one year where I was like, well, why don't I help you cook? And he just like he was not having any of that for whatever reason. And we were like having this very passive aggressive, like, speaking of like families getting together and like, it's supposed to be this like, oh, everything's going great, but there's always like drama. And we had this passive aggressive, like argument about like the food and stuff. And he ended up doing all the cooking, but so many things made it in and out of the microwave. I was like, no, this is not how we do Thanksgiving.
Oh God.
But it's funny how like I always joke about that with my friends. They talk about it and I lament that I don't have these like giant Thanksgivings, like where we're around the table and whatever. And to be honest, like this year, not even getting my silly Thanksgiving is so sad. It's like you kind of like reassess like what's really important in those moments, and it's like I do feel like I'm gonna miss my weird Thanksgiving this year.
I'll never
miss
forget.
My family.
I'll never forget you calling me on Thanksgiving, like, Marie. And you're like whispering. I'm like, what's going on, Katie? Is everything okay? And you're like, the turkey is in the microwave. What do I do?
I was so upset. He just
You
kept
were
putting
so
everything in the
upset.
microwave. I was like, what's happening?
I was like, I think you just, you got to pick your battles.
just let it happen.
Just let it, just eat that microwave turkey. That's, I mean, but was
Well,
he
I went back down.
defrosting it or
Yeah,
cooking
I
it
went
in?
back downstairs and I was like, oh, like what is going on? And he was like, I'm just thawing it. I'm just thawing it.
Oh
I
my
was like,
gosh.
okay. And then he
Oh
put
my
it in the oven. It was lovely. He does a lovely job. And then we take the same picture every year of him pulling the turkey out of the oven. It's very cute.
Oh my gosh. Well, this year is I mean, it's for so many people not being with their families for Thanksgiving. I will be with my parents. And for years, like after that Costa Rica trip, because before that I really hadn't traveled outside of the United States very much. And so because I was in the service industry before, like around Thanksgiving, you can either work or take off. So I had worked for years, always working Thanksgiving, always. And even so, I worked for this very wealthy family in New York and always did their Thanksgiving in their mansion. I think I tried to recruit you a couple times.
God. It's like, I'm busy.
Yeah. I mean, nothing like serving rich people for Thanksgiving. Very wonderful, very kind, very generous. But when you're serving other people's families for Thanksgiving, it's kind of sad. Did it for years. But but so then after Costa Rica, I went to Thailand for Thanksgiving. And that was another amazing. I was in like this hut in the middle of Kawasak National Forest or jungle. I don't know what the fuck. We were in a hut in the middle of nowhere, and we had a Thanksgiving meal. It was fried fish and like papaya with people from all over the world.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then another time I was in Amsterdam hanging out.
Wow,
with,
you travel a lot on Thanksgiving. I never go anywhere.
It was only because I worked for 10 years on Thanksgiving, and so finally, like being able to afford to not.
When you just never had like a tradition with your family, I guess, and you would just go for
also
Christmas.
just going home for Christmas. I didn't want to do it twice.
Right.
Like, what's the point of that?
No, that makes sense.
But yeah, I really love just taking a little trip around Thanksgiving, getting the fuck out of Dodge.
That's very nice. I always wanted to do like a Friendsgiving in New York, and it's sort of like, well, here's my chance, except nope. So not really. But it's still going to be great. My mom has been sending me recipes. She's like, make this, make that. So I'm going to have like a feast.
Oh,
even
good.
If it's just me.
What are your sides? Are you going to make like your Midwest?
I'm going to make mashed potatoes. I'm going to make candied yams with the marshmallows because I like those. And then I'm going to make green bean casserole.
Oh, wow.
Like the least healthy green bean casserole I can possibly make.
Yes.
And then maybe little buns. And then if my friend does come, he's going to make the stuffing and the cranberry sauce.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer the cranberry sauce in the can. Not going to lie.
I mean,
I love it.
I don't mind it. I don't mind that at all.
Sound. I love it.
Yeah.
Yummy.
I just like to slice it into like circles. Like having just like these hard little. I'm not
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm in charge of the stuffing and mac and cheese this year.
Ooh, that's nice.
And my mom's making a pumpkin cheesecake with a ginger snap crust.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I did say, I was like, I'm not making a pie. It's too much work.
Yeah, no, fuck that. Yeah. It's just, man, once we get this vaccine, we're going to be having Thanksgiving every day. With our families and friends.
Yeah.
Will we? Yeah. Well, it's really, yeah. People, of course, are now starting to post on Instagram, social media everywhere of just like the really what Thanksgiving is truly about. And it's just wild that that's what we're still doing that. We're still celebrating.
I think we need to pivot. I think it's really great to have a day where we, number one, spend it with family. Mm-hmm. And number two, the whole idea of like giving thanks, stopping for a moment and thinking like, what am I thankful for this year? That is great. Mm-hmm. If we could try to start divorcing that idea from the colonization of the United States, that would be really nice, because the idea of like celebrating the fact that like people, that Europeans came over and like decimated a population of people that were already living here, that's like doesn't make me want to eat a lot of turkey, It's not really a thing. But I think that like there's no reason to get rid of Thanksgiving entirely. I just think that we have to, maybe we stop with the like imagery and stuff. And then maybe part of the festivities should be a moment of like recognition of like what really, how America really was established, which is, I was actually I was having sort of an argument / debate with a friend about like, were the Europeans are they the worst people ever? And were they the ones that like, just are dead set on destroying and taking over other people? And the answer actually is no. There's been empires for centuries and centuries and centuries, and the empires have come from different parts of like the world. There was the Chinese empire, there's the Egyptian empire, there's all these different areas that have had empires and enslaved people in different ways and things like that. Ours, the European empire, from what I'm understanding, is for sure the most recent. So it's more like impacting our lives today. But one of the things
those Romans weren't too good either.
No, they're awful. Just terrible. Anybody that has an empire is not treating people well. Absolutely not treating people well. They're destruction and just mayhem all around them. But one of the things we were sort of like, well, what happened with the like, quote unquote New World or like North America? Like, how come the Europeans were the only ones that really got a foothold in there in terms of like colonization? And at the end of the day, I keep forgetting this. It was just like smallpox. Other people had come centuries prior and tried to come and like establish themselves on that land. But the Native Americans were good fighters and they were able to like be like, nope, nah, bitch, get out of here. And it wasn't that the Europeans were great fighters necessarily. It was, they had guns and all sorts of stuff, but that wasn't it. It was all the disease.
Smallpox. Yeah.
So our ancestors were just diseased people that like came and just.
That feels right.
Killed people. Yeah.
That feels really right.
It feels good
right
for
now.
20. It feels about right for 2020. And this is the retribution that us Europeans get is we have to deal with COVID now this time around.
Oh, gosh. Well, what are you thankful for in 2020?
I'm thankful that my family currently is safe. I feel very fortunate that I haven't had any direct impact from the virus on anybody super close to me, though I know that not everybody can say that. So I'm very sorry for people that have had to deal with it more directly. I'm grateful for, I'm so privileged that I was able to have an opportunity during this pandemic to sort of shift some of the things in my life for a better way. And I know most people have not had that opportunity. So I am very grateful and aware of the privilege that comes with that. I'm grateful that we're able to still podcast, even though we're like separated. And I'm grateful that there's a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm hopeful that maybe Americans during this season will get their heads out of their asses and maybe kind of see like that we really, my hope and my wish for the coming year is that people start to care less, be so self-centered and really let's make this American ideals not about just like individual freedom, but more about like freedoms for communities and for all of us and not just, me, How about you?
Well, I'm thankful for you.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful right now to have this time with my family, being away for forever, for 15 years, to finally be living back in the same town as them. And, I've talked about this before, but my dad has advanced Alzheimer's. And so I'm really happy to be here and helping my mom. And just, we're going through this nightmare that is this disease. And I'm very, very lucky to be present and have a great therapist. Thank you, Katy, for encouraging that. That is helping me go through these hard times and just talking openly about my feelings. And for years, I was against having, being in therapy. And now I'm like doubling down on it. I think it's really healthy. And I really encourage anybody who is anybody that, I think everybody actually.
Everybody, especially right now, could use some help.
Yeah, because anxiety is through the roof. And everybody has been affected by the pandemic some way. And therapy has really been helpful for me. So I'm thankful for that. And I'm hopeful that America, like you said, is going to, reinvest in humanity and just double down on love for each other and not just individual, their individual lives and families, but just more of a true belief that, if we do want to be proud Americans. Like, we have a lot of work to do. And I think a lot of us understand that. And I think a lot of us don't. So, I don't know. I think I'm hopeful, and I'm very thankful for our next president and a peaceful transition. And I think number one, I'm most thankful for the people that have been activated within these like grassroots campaigns. I've just been, I mean, you know, Stacey Abrams and all the wonderful women and men that helped volunteer in Georgia. But I mean, those sort of programs and activism has been happening all over our country. And I just think those people I'm so very thankful for. And especially the people that just hand counted the votes in Georgia.
Those are rock stars.
It's like amazing. So really, really awesome, wonderful things that are happening. It's just, it's hard when you have, I mean, this past week I was very upset, just very, and it's just nice that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I hope. So I did wake up in a pure panic this morning from a nightmare that I was speaking at a ladies' luncheon that somehow Donald Trump was going to be at the ladies' luncheon. And they told me like 10 minutes before. I hate listening to other people's dreams, but this was my dream this morning. So that I had 10 minutes to prepare a speech that I was going to be giving in front of Donald Trump. Yeah. And but like, whoa, I had so many thoughts, but anyway, I woke up at 4:30 with that.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I'm thankful for dreams.
Well, I am also very, and I get it. They're over it. But I'm so thankful for our people, our medical workers, and please do them a favor and give them a break and take care of yourselves and don't get sick. There was that meme that's going around about Groundhog's Day. Someone was like, how does Groundhog's Day end? Like, how do we get out of this, like, cycle of the same day over and over again? What was it that he finally did? And someone was like, he stopped being so narcissistic and obsessed with himself, and he started doing things for other people. And that was how he broke out of the cycle. And that's exactly how we get out of ours. So yeah, actually, like, go, everybody watch Groundhog's Day, relearn that lesson, and then apply it in your life and tell your friends to watch it.
I think that's beautiful. That's what we'll be doing Thanksgiving. Yeah. Well, we hope everybody does have a very happy, safe Thanksgiving, whichever way, shape, or form it takes this year. Just, there is a lot to be thankful for, and we're thankful for you for listening and sticking with our podcast.
Yes.
And all
and take care of yourself and take care of others, on this, moving forward in this weird rest of this year and moving into the new decade. Yeah.
All right. Love you guys. Stay safe.
Bye. Gobble, gobble.